Hi there, Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. Today I'm going to show you how to make this adorable fall time house mouse card, which would be perfect for any sort of thinking of you type of announcement. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use an unmounted house mouse stamp by Stampendous on my Mega Mount. And I like that because I can get a lot of really good detail with an unmounted stamp on the Mega Mount. I'm using Ranger Archival ink and I'm just heat setting it with my heat gun to make sure I'll be all set to go over with the watercolor markers here that I'm using. You can use any brand you want. I'm using my Zigs because I haven't used them in a long time. And I'm actually just going in and throwing in some sky color along the top of the paper, and then I'm going to do some grass color on the bottom. Now I'm going to use a bunch of different medias here because there's so many details and it would be really tedious to try to paint around all these little flowers and around the mice and everything. So by layering my media, I can actually just kind of paint it just like I would do a painting in like acrylics or something. I'm just going to be layering. So I've dried my paper and now I'm going in with some watercolor pencils. These are the Prima ones. You can use whatever you have. The Prima ones are a good quality and pretty affordable. So, I like to recommend those if you don't have any and you're looking to get started. And I'm just using several shades of grays and browns. And then I'm going back in with my water brush, or you can use a damp brush if that's what you have. And I'm liquefying it and it's adding some depth of color. And that's the other reason I like to kind of layer and mix my media on cards sometimes, because it gives you that rich look. I had done this previously with just my Zig pens and it was just a very garish and it lacked depth and it looked very cartoony to me, and I really wanted these to have more of a rich look to them. And I'll compare and I'll show you the other one I did with just the Zigs at the end of the video so you can see. Now I've let that dry again and I've switched over to my Prismacolor colored pencils. Now I love my Prismacolor pencils, but they do tend to break more than others, the leads inside that is, but they're also softer and more opaque, so they're great for layering over. You can see that the mice, the face, the ears, they're really standing out over the background because the pencils are so opaque. Now in the second one I thought I'll put my shadows in first and then I'll go in with my lights and see how that looks. I think I actually liked putting in my lighter colors first, like that light kind of beige color, and then going over with the pinks and the browns a little bit better than working dark to light. I think because it's such a small space and they are such light areas that I'm working on, that seems to work a little bit better on the like face and feet and hands of my little mice there. So I'm just kind of going in and filling in and adjusting and making sure I have some nice thick pigment there. Any place you feel like you need to brighten up a spot, you can use a little white. Now for the fur, I'm using some warm gray. I believe I'm using 50 and 20% warm grays, and they may be a bit dark, but I really wanted the mice to stand out. So you, of course, can do whatever you like for coloring. I think it would be kind of fun to actually stamp out a bunch of these and put them in my planner, and then I can actually kind of color them when I get a few spare moments, because this took a long time to color, believe it or not. It took about a half an hour to color, and I was really working quickly on purpose. So, I mean, if I was going to sit down and color this leisurely, it'd probably take me an hour, just to let you know. So in case you're trying to do this at home and you're like, I can't do this in 10 minutes, Lindsay, this is crazy. It took me longer. As you can see, I'm speeding up. Now this pencil, oh my gosh, this one right here, the short one, I've had that in my stash since I was like, I think 5. It's one of my first ones. This is like Barrel Prismacolor. It's from the 70s. It's crazy. And it's traveled with me over the years, so the leads tend to break on those. I did find that you can heat the lead for like about 6 seconds in the microwave, and that does melt it and let it cool and then sharpen it, and it works really good. But do that with caution, at your own risk. Okay, guys, I don't want anyone blowing up their microwaves trying to nuke pencils, but I'm using a few different shades of yellow and orange and red here to color my fall leaf. And we have a lot of maple leaves here in Maine, so I get to see them all the time. And unfortunately, I'm starting to see the leaves change already, and it's not even September yet. It's a little sad. Now there, I just kind of rubbed my the leaf with a tissue, and it removed any wax bloom and it made the colors brighter. So when you're all done using colored pencil, you might want to try that, especially if you've colored really thickly. So I'm using some shades of brown, green, and gold on that little, I think it's like an ash leaf up there that's on the littlest mouse. And for this oak leaf, I am using some shades of brown, gold, and green, but I want to kind of get that satiny yellow gold color that the oak leaves are. We got tons of those. They don't fall until like after the snow hits the ground, so that's always very frustrating because you rake and then it snows like on Halloween and then you've got all these leaves on top. Oh, you know, hashtag Maine problems, right? Okay, so I'm just layering on the color here and building it up. I just really love the satiny richness that the colored pencils give. So if you do have some, even if they're inexpensive children's colored pencils, give them a try. I bet you'll be really pleased with how well they perform. I know the Prang brand is very affordable. You can find it at pretty much any office supply store or department store, and they perform very well. So don't feel like you have to go out and invest $100 in a new set of pencils if you want to do this. Use what you have. Try Prangs, try Crayolas. You'll probably be very happy with those. But I do like the Prismacolors as well. I like Spectrum Noirs. I like the Polychromos, but they're not as opaque. So, use what you have and then see what you want to add to it. You can always buy a couple pencils individually from different brands and see how they perform and see what you prefer. I would do that before I invested a lot of money in a big set. So I just went through and adjusted some of the colors on the leaves, and now I'm adding just some gray to the wood just to make it look kind of old and weathered, and I'm increasing the shadows and just kind of building up my colors. That's what's fun about using the colored pencils and kind of mixing your media. If you start with like a water-based media, like a watercolor pencil or watercolor markers or even alcohol markers, and then you build up with your colored pencils on top, the colors will layer and stick and give you that richness. You can see how I'm putting these kind of wheat or goldenrod little sprigs in front of the fence, and they're standing out because I can layer that because I have that just watercolor underneath. There's nothing clogging the tooth up, and I can just keep building. So I'd love for you to try that technique on one of your cards coming up, because I think you'd really, really enjoy it. Now I'm just about done here with my coloring, and I'm going to share a really fun tip with you, and that is how I like to get my torn edges. And I actually kind of came upon this tip by accident. I had purchased some quilting rulers, and I'm rubbing off the bloom there to make it a little bit brighter. I purchased some quilting rulers because I kind of got into quilting for like a week and a half, and I got a really good deal on these. But then I realized those gridded rulers are perfect for tearing edges because I can use the grid to line up the edges or different parts of my design. And then when I tear off the excess, it holds my paper down so I don't rip it where I don't want it. And it also keeps everything square because of all the cool little grids on there. So if you have a quilting ruler, it's a really great thing to do. I'm inking the edges up with my brown. Wow, sorry about that crazy fast camera move there. But it works really well. You could even use a stamp block for that same technique if you wanted to. Now this is kind of fun. My husband was doing some woodworking, and he was playing with his planer, his hand plane, and he made all these cool strips of wood. And I thought, oh, I'm going to save that, and I'm going to stamp some sentiments on there. So that's just a strip of wood that was left over from my husband's shop. I encourage you to try that if you woodwork or you have a planer, or you know someone that does. Ask for the like strips that have been planed off. They are wonderful for embellishments. You don't really have to worry about if it's acid free, which it is not because it's wood, on a card, because it's not a scrapbook page. It's not going to be around forever. Now for decorating the envelope, I stamped this big leaf by Stampendous on the edge of my card, on the edge of my envelope, so where it wouldn't like interfere with my address or anything. And I'm just very, very lightly coloring it with a pencil, not using very much pressure, so the stamp design shows through. And that was kind of just a little practice so I could figure out how I wanted to color these that I stamped on the background of my card. I thought I wanted to layer some paper, but then when I was thinking about it, I was like, you know what, I really would like to have some more leaves, and so by using the stamp and my colored pencils, I can get that look. Now I'm coloring a little firmer on this, and this card base that I'm using is just one of the inexpensive ones from AC Moore or Joann's. I believe it's like Nicole brand. I'm not 100%, but you can get Kraft cream or white, and the Kraft ones are actually a little bit thicker, and I just really love them. And you can get I don't know, they've been on sale like perpetually for like $6 for a package of 50 cards and envelopes, so you really can't beat that. And I really like the color, and it has some nice tooth on the Kraft ones that it will take colored pencil really well. I'm not coloring the whole leaf because it's going to be hidden behind my focal point, so why bother? And see, we can kind of see him peeking out there. I think it's so pretty. Now I'm using foam tape to raise up my panel. After all, we spent all that time coloring it. We really want to make sure it's the focal point of our card here. And I'm just gonna layer that right on top, just like that. Another reason not to color pencil everything in the back is that the tape will have a hard time sticking. And the cool thing about these little pieces of shaved off wood there is that you can kind of tear it to the length you want. I'm just using brads to attach it because I like the way brads look. They kind of look like nails, and we've got a fence there, and I think it all matches really well. And there we go. I wanted another little embellishment to finish this off, and I thought about these glitter leaves that I've had in my stash for a while, but I wasn't really happy with them. They were too bright. So what I did was I took this little mouse print footprint stamp, also from Stampendous, and added little mice tracks all over the back of my card, and I just think it's adorable. Now I wanted to show you the original thing I did, and this was with the zig markers. You can see how it's kind of gaudy and bright. See how much better the colored pencil looks here in these examples. So that's why I wanted to show you both of those so you could kind of see the advantage of using colored pencils and layering your media. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial today. Please give me a thumbs up and subscribe and share it with your friends. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, happy crafting.